your Detroit Lions, who continue to ascend under Dan Campbell's watch with Jared Goff now in his third season with the Lions. I think they only continue to climb. Plus, you got Jameson Williams after the first 6 games suspension. Once he's back, though, I could see this offense really taking it to another gear, to another level. So let's talk about my expectations for your Detroit Lions in 2023. I do think we get a slight boost. They were plus 38 above league average in plays run. I think we get even more closer to plus 50 this year with a few more pass attempts as Jared Goff continues to get more and more comfortable within this offense. But right last year, they were 55% pass, 45% rush. Very similar outlook here. And they're one of the clearer teams. Once the game gets going, you kind of know what's going to happen with them. If they get up, they love to go slower, bleed you out. You saw Jamal Williams, 262 carries last year. Really got I think he was 7th in the league in carries. He certainly was 1st in the league in rushing touchdowns, as we'll cover shortly. But they love getting a lead, pounding you out in the run game. But then when they're from behind, they take the foot on the gas. They throw. How many shootouts did we see? The Seahawks versus the Lions going for 70 points. We could see that in plenty of weeks, but it did make Jared Goff a little bit boomier buster than some of you might remember. But I think a little more volume could even steady that out just a bit. So the offense as a whole stays similar in their pass to rush ratio, but just a bit more volume within both of those facets of the game, especially with the exciting rookie Jahmyr Gibbs added. But what do I see for Goff? After going for right around this yardage total last year, I think a bit, about 100 yards more than what I saw last year. 4,579 yards, and then crossing into that 30-plus touchdown range with this team with a new weapon like Jahmyr Gibbs, who this team could not be more excited to have, with Jameson Williams apparently taking his game to the next level and getting mentored right now by Calvin Johnson. So between those two weapons being injected into it already, the 4th highest scoring offense last year, I think we could see them take it up yet another notch with Goff. A very quality season here, 4,579 yards, 31 touchdowns. He protected the ball very, very well since he's gotten there with the Lions. That's part of why they're keeping him around, is how he's not blowing games anymore. He's not getting careless with the football. He's not a Konami guy, obviously, but he's pounded in a rushing touchdown every single year, so I'll give him one for the season. But that's a quality aerial pie right there. 4,500 yards, 31 touchdowns. And I don't think there's too many mouths to feed. So not only is it a quality pie, but a pretty condensed one. I guess we can start. Let's talk about where we expect it to go, because Gibbs is going to be a big mouth to feed, and we'll transition to the backfield when we get there. But at wide receiver, you've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sippy Cup, I like to call him, because he gets that Cooper Cup layup target role. Ben Johnson, a master at crafting slot routes and mismatches with Amon-Ra St. Brown. So I think he continues to be an absolute target hog this year. Even with Jameson Williams, very exciting player coming in. You saw 140 targets go St. Brown's way this year. I think he can continue to ascend and be that lead guy that just continues to be, he's already a top 12 receiver, maybe top 7 potential. So I really, really like Amon-Ra St. Brown to get a huge workload, 165 targets, 112 catches, 1,344 yards, and 8 touchdowns. That would be the anomaly here, given that he only had 4 last year, to see that double. But the reason I project that is he was tackled a league high 7 times within the 5-yard line, so close to scoring so many times. And yeah, I get it. He's not a bull, so it's not like he's going to ever catch it and then burst through 3 defenders like some players might be, like a DK Metcalf, for example, can. But he is, that's a lot of unlucky. So I do think we get a bit of a spike here. He has also talked about very much working on his vertical game, trying to get deep more often instead of just being a sippy cup. That would elevate into the Cooper Cup role, where he could not only do the layup stuff, but then also get deep. We did not see that very often last year. As a rookie, though, when he went on that crazy tear to end 2021, he was getting deep. He was getting in the backfield. So I do think that role could continue to evolve, where we see a meeting of both worlds, that rookie season and last year, with even more volume, making Cup a guy I love targeting at the end of round 1, early round 2. If he falls to mid round 2, screaming praises. I absolutely love this guy. Between him versus like Devontae Adams, one of the best receivers in the league, that's a tough debate for me. I often find myself going Adams just because of the history, but the fact I can even consider that. He's also, Garrett Wilson right in that conversation towards the end of round 1. Which person do you lean for? At receiver, but while Jameson Williams is out, I don't see much in the way for St. Brown to get what he routinely saw last year, averaging just under 10 targets a game, but so many of those games were above 12 targets. I think over half of his game, I'm looking at it. Yeah, over half of his games were above 11 targets last year, multiple 12, 113 target day. So you don't see a lot of receivers. And the best part is, too, even the ones that weren't at that level, 9, 9, 9, 6, 9, 8. There's really only one game. He got hurt against Dallas. It got knocked out earlier that game. But other than that, he had one game below 6 targets. So this guy, it's just the steady volume, the layup targets, and with the upside to maybe evolve into more of a deep ball artist, more touchdowns. Really, really like him. I do really clearly like Jameson Williams as a player, and I like his production once he gets back onto the field. He only had one catch as a rookie, but it was a 40-yard touchdown. And all camp, the talk has been how much this guy has evolved as a complete and total receiver coming into the league, first percentile speed, similar to Tyreek Hill level of explosiveness, but a bigger body that can really, really get there. I think big things are in store for him, especially if he continues to be mentored by Calvin Johnson. So I had to account for the fact that he's going to miss the first 6 games, but once he comes back in those 10 games, I think he's going to be right around 70 to 80 yards a game. I think he'll score a touchdown more often than he won't, as a very, very quality lid lifter. I mean, you should see last year what Josh Reynolds and Khalif Raymond and these nobodies could do. I really think Ben Johnson's going to scheme this guy brilliantly. Now, till he's back, I do think Marvin Jones returns to Detroit here. He's still solid. He's definitely lost a bit of that next gear. He used to routinely average 12.7 to 13.5, somewhere in that range, yards per reception. And last couple of years with the Jags, we've seen him go down to 11.5 and 11. I do think back in this more explosive offense here, at least in terms of verticality, I think Marvin Jones could get to that 12 or so yards per reception again with a pretty good catch rate. He's always been a great contested catch guy. He used to do wonders for Detroit. So in this homecoming, brings a nice stabilizing veteran presence. I think he fills the job quite well till we have Jameson Williams back, and then fits in as a quality wide receiver 3 that doesn't just disappear, but ultimately it's a lot bigger mouths around him with St. Brown, Jameson Williams. So those games, good kind of handcuff. If you draft Jameson Williams in round 10 or so, which great recommendation, definitely do it. Marvin Jones, the last round guy, could potentially be that bridge until he's back. But I don't want to discount Sam LaPorta, the rookie tight end they drafted ahead of Michael Myers, because they liked his pass catching prowess, that pedigree being at Iowa, the tight end university pretty much. And so far in OTAs, all the talk using the big body and red zone drills and impressive after the catch, the way that he moves his frame, it seems unfair for a big guy. A lot of interesting quotes and hype coming out about LaPorta. And last year we saw that Brock Wright, Shane Zylstra. Once TJ Hawkinson was gone, there were decent days for some of these tight ends. It's an offense that does like to use Dan Campbell, a former tight ends coach, former tight end himself. He knows how to use this position. They just haven't really had that talent after Hawkinson was gone. So I think LaPorta could bring some nice stability, and as the year gets on, get better and better. I do have him going for, I believe, like 15% target share. Yep, exactly. 15% target share, 92 targets, and a quality overall pie. And just above him on the target totem pole. So for me, it goes clear cut St. Brown, doubling up the next closest guy in targets, mostly because Jameson Williams will be out. I think he'll be the second clear target once he is back after those first 6 games. But I think right behind those guys will be Jahmyr Gibbs, so we can start turning to the backfield, and we'll start as a receiver. This has been a great receiving role for DeAndre Swift, or whatever back has been there the last few seasons. Typically it's Swift, but they have averaged 19, 13, 11, 13, 18, and 15% target share. And then Gibbs, among the best receiving prospects to come out in the last 5 years. I definitely see him being right in that 13 to 19, anywhere in that range. So I slapped him in at 16% target share, 98 total targets. I think that is quite, it's a lot for a running back. And yet I think he's going to, you talked about in camp, lining up in the slot, lining up outside, all over the formation, on the backfield with David Montgomery. They are already scheming up so many creative ways to get the ball into this guy's hands, and he is so dangerous once he has it. So just like DeAndre Swift would routinely score 3 to 5 touchdowns through the air, I think 5 is absolutely within Jahmyr Gibbs' range here. 600-ish so receiving yards seems like a lot, but again, I think he's that damn explosive, and he's going to be that heavily used. Because let's say Jameson Williams doesn't come along. This is projecting both of those guys to be quality guys, but this might not even be the ceiling. If Jameson Williams does not take that next step, they're going to need a clear-cut number 2, and I really think Gibbs could just played wideout for them. And they put Montgomery on the field as well. So I think a big receiving role in store against 607.5 on 74 catches for Gibbs, in addition to, and I have him obviously, as you can see there, 39% carries going to him, 49% to Montgomery. That's pretty much how we saw it with Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift, the big bodied guy. When they get the lead, gets the carries, batters down the defense. They have the ability to pay Jamal Williams less and keep him. They paid Montgomery top 5 running back money in the league as a guy they've consistently faced. Clearly, there was something they really liked about Montgomery ahead of Jamal Williams, who just put up 17 rushing touchdowns on 262 carries. So I expect similar usage for David Montgomery, one of my favorite round 9 or so picks. 14 touchdowns coming his way, less than Jamal Williams scored last year. I don't think that's actually crazy in the least. 1,000-ish yards, 14 touchdowns. I think the receiving game will be next to nothing. And he is a good pass protector. He can get it done as a receiver. But why would you use him when you have Jahmyr Gibbs? So I do have Gibbs going for more total yards, around 1,500 total yards and about 8 to 9 total touchdowns. But that doesn't mean Montgomery can't score a ton on the ground. So I think this will be Jahmyr Gibbs, a more consistent player, more consistently involved, the right type of game flow. We'll see Montgomery, just like Jamal Williams, spike for 20 points and 2 touchdowns and 3 touchdowns and have these monster days. But there will be some games, if it becomes a shootout, if they get down early, that you might get just like Jamal Williams last year. 2 points, 1 point, not involved at all. So that's going to be the risk with Montgomery, but I still think the touchdown upside is massive within this offense. And so I still like him quite a bit as well. And that covers the Detroit Lions. Jared Goff taking yet another step forward, and especially in terms of receiving touchdowns with better weapons and Jamison Williams and Gibbs now at his disposal. Montgomery filling the Jamal Williams role admirably in a great 8 to 9 round pick. Gibbs is the one that he goes round 4. And I projected him higher than I expected to. So I might start getting some more shares. After looking at these numbers, I'm kind of thinking I don't have enough of him at this point, should he play as high as this level. I love the player. I was worried about how much usage would be there to go around. But as I mapped out the receiving usage, to me, he was the clear-cut number 2 right now, second biggest mouth, given that Williams is going to be suspended for about a little bit more than a third of the season. So I like Gibbs more than I thought I was, and I definitely want to start adding more of him to my best ball portfolio since I don't have much of him yet. What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments, check out some more videos, and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.